Alright, this is draffet and this is draffet store. And like I said, this week's is on 9/11. Now I'm going to take a real serious tone with this one because it's one of those things that has been beat over like a wet horse numerous times in the last 10 years. See, my opinions on it differ than the public opinions on what happened. And D, I've done enough of my own personal research throughout since '05. Not like not gonna say like hundreds of hours, but we will say roughly probably a cumulative about a week-ish total in that amount of time. You know, whenever I decided that I heard something new and do research on it and check things up. I have watched the Zeitgeist video on the whole, it's covered that and a bunch of other things. I've watched, numerous videos ranging from conspiracy theories on it to a few Alex Jones to We Are Change, covering, different things on it. The actual, news footage from the day from local stations here in Detroit. And, sat down and rewatched the actual footage of the two that hit the Trade Center and the one that hit the Pentagon. UA 93 is one of those areas that I'm kind of gray on. I really can't say that what it was that hit there, but I do know this. One, did watch video with the coroner at the site. I don't know the gentleman's name. Like I said, I didn't do that much research like I should have this weekend, but because I've had a lot of personal things go wrong, so not a lot of time to sit here, and most of my free time was either checking emails or doing Facebook. But I do remember video back from about '07 or '08 that was tied to something from '04, '05 on Democracy Now!, where they had one of the groups that was spearheading, was a group of college kids that was spearheading a movement to say, hey, our information, I just getting out of college, I did all this paperwork, and all your information you're giving me is, not right. To where the publication managers and such of Popular Science put out a book that you had to spend $24 for. It wouldn't talk about the situation unless you spent the $24. So they're looking in there, and they said that yes, from all of our information, what the official report is correct. Well, I'm sorry, but if somebody's making $1 off of it, they're full of shit. Okay, if you can't talk on a newscast or a news show about what your information, and that Democracy Now! Was not the only place that these two groups of people had it, their, okay, that, and that there are, over the years, there have been so many engineers in the thousands across the United States saying that, yeah, that free fall, no, ain't happening that way. Like I said, Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theories, I've actually watched all of his on the subject and, learned a few things there. Now, here is my actual take. We were snow jobbed for whatever reason, to be told that 16 hijackers associated with Al Qaeda one who he didn't even pass his flight test crashed, and so you understand, who didn't pass his flight test in a smaller plane that was nowhere comparable to 747s and the other planes, to make, go and make a turn like this, and did it anyways. Like I was saying about the coroner, the actual video footage I saw on YouTube, the coroner stated that this is so unbloody of a crash site, and cluttered of a crash site that I've ever seen in my life. He says, I have been here and I have not looked at one body part yet. He goes, I've been to other crash sites where airplanes with people have died, and this, within I see very little clothes and very little damage. And he goes, I've spent so much time just standing here doing nothing, to the point that he stopped fielding reports or questions on that day completely, because you get tired of it. Now, getting back to the hijackers, I found it hard to believe that, one, it was easy. Well, first off, the FBI even stated that they just took their list of their top terrorist suspects and used that. Okay. There are news reports, even from BBC America, who actually interviewed 6 of the people that were supposedly on it a number of years later. I do remember a Fox report where they were talking to, or not talking to, but they had found out that one of the supposed terrorist suspects was driving a taxi cab in Ohio at the time that the attack happened. The gentleman whose passport was found, unscathed by the way, which I've never seen a fire do that, or any fire do that. Falls a couple hundred feet to be found totally intact. Stated that his passport, said passport, was stolen, and even went to the authorities and let them know about it. Okay. To reports of Osama bin Laden himself saying that he had nothing to do with it, and that he was going to be made a scapegoat of the situation, and that he had, stated that he had nothing to do with it, and then so many years later, even up to 04, 05, all of a sudden these videos keep coming out that he changed his story. Okay, now the problem with those later videos, is that I saw the one where he said that he did not do it, and he was a sickly looking man with solid gray beard, with maybe a patch or two of the dark hair he once had, with gray hair or graying hair. Now the later videos, even one of the last ones, this was black and this was black, and he did not look as sickly as he did. And the other thing was, this was smaller in the original videos, to where this later on looked like this. Now with his particular illness and the fact that he had been into U.S. military installations prior to 9/11 and was not handcuffed, let walk out, not interrogated, out for medical care. Okay, if the most wanted man in the world walks into a military base and is not handcuffed and given treatment, with his arms, this is for dynamic purposes, arms shackled to like this for the bed. I mean, everybody's seen, MASH episodes where a guy, gets found out and he wakes up, he's like, "Hold out." And, BJ and them are going, "Well, why do you have to do that? He's ill, he's not going anywhere." Okay. Yet the man, like I said, walked out of 2 military bases without using his, first off, using his real name, got medical treatment, and was let go, and was the most wanted man in the world. I'm sorry. It seems kind of funny. And then we can't find him. And yet they find him in Pakistan. And in a neighborhood that didn't even know he was there. Didn't know that someone of his caliber was being, whatever there. And then that Pakistani government says, "You can't do it. You can't come in here." And we went in anyways. And then the body is thrown out to sea. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense. That, and on Sir David Frost's Frost Over the World, I want to say it's Afghanistan, but it might be Pakistan's former let's see, typing in her name. And double checking, I'm doing research as I'm going. Either one of the countries, let's say ex-prime ministers who was, forcibly exiled from the country, roughly around 2007, 2008, coming back into the country Christmas after being on Sir David Frost's show, is killed after she stated on Sir David Frost's Frost Over the World that Osama bin Laden had been dead for so long, and named said killer, and it was of an American journalist that got some big publicity right around between 2001 and 2003. Now, the only reason why I'm stating this is I don't believe everything my government says. I feel sorry for the people in New York, and it is a legitimate tragedy what happened. But the information I was given and the rest of the United States and the rest of the world were given, there's way too many holes, way too many ideas not adding up. Maybe it's, I'm overthinking it, which it could be, but I highly doubt that, thousands of people, or hundreds of thousands of people who don't believe it, and think it's a conspiracy or think it's a load of horseshit, including engineers who deal with this kind of thing, chemical, structural, and scientists that looked at the paperwork that was given that the guys in Popular Science said was truthful, and said, no, we looked at this and we watched the video and there's no way that this could happen. And a lot of it is aimed at not so much the main two buildings, but Trade Center 7. That wasn't hit by any debris and wasn't hit by, had no reason to come down at all. And like I said, I'm looking up on it, and I mean there's a whole lot of other things I can list in this video, ranging from the gold that was in the Trade Center being not where it was at, or where it should have been at, and was actually in transit when the airplanes hit from one building to the next. The fact that the owner's family was a no-show, and and himself was a no-show when they usually showed up at promptly a specific time every day, and then on this day no show. To the fact that stock commodities on, I'm going to get this wrong because I don't have a functional knowledge of the stock market and processes with the stock market, but things with stocks with the airplanes, particularly the airplanes that crashed into the trade centers, went from being down here to over the budget over here, you know, higher than what they should have been, to the fact that at least two of the airplanes were still on the paperwork stating that they were flyable airplanes and were not taking off even up to 2004, 2005. They were not taking off, you know, any of the paperwork that states, you know, this airplane's been set aside for being old, and this one's still flyable, and all that. To a bunch of others, you know, a bunch of other things. Now, I'm going to give a little speech at the end here, because it's roughly about the amount of time I was going to spend on it. I feel bad for the people that lost family members. I actually personally know somebody that did. Older brothers that she never, older brothers that I guess never met or whatever. The police and fire departments on this situation, I will state this. They were doing their jobs. Their jobs is to save lives. 9/11 was no more different than any other situation of them going into a skyscraper and trying to save lives. It's a tragedy that they lost their life. It's part of their job. Okay, it's above and beyond. I don't know, but it was part of their job. The individual people, it is a tragedy. But it's a tragedy that it woke up the United States to understanding that there's a good portion of the rest of the world that distrusts, dislikes, and can't associate an American citizen from the American government. But it's no more tragic than the amount of people that die every year from cancer or any other disease. It's just a situation where, or even an earthquake, whether it's Japan, California's earthquake in '89 to Mount St. Helens eruptions. The biggest tragedy is that there's so many people that believed the misinformed story that my government gave out and believe it so much to the point that it spawned 2 wars because in areas that we don't need to be in and have no real ties to these suspected terrorists, where the training camps are in other areas like Yemen, Syria, Lebanon at the time, and about 4 or 5 other places around the world. It's a tragedy that I have to be here to talk about a situation like this that could have been prevented, and the information was there to prevent it, and it wasn't. And I am sorry that I will have to have this memory of this event for the rest of my life, because it is one of those events that you will, for the rest of your life, if you remember where you were at. Just like the 85 shuttle explosion. For those that are older, the 1972 Olympics. The Hindenburg. The Titanic. And I will always personally carry a reminder, because on 9/11 my life, this tattoo was redone and is my personal reminder of a new age. This is Draffet. This is Draffet Store. Have fun.